Our team is here with these stories and the many others we are bringing you this hour. A busy one here in Washington. Kelly O'Donnell is on the Hill for us. NBC News Justice correspondent Pete Williams is here as well. Kelly, I'll start with you. With apologies in advance, I guess I have to jump in and interrupt you if and when Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell begins speaking. What is the expectation from what we might hear from him? And how will Democrats handle it if, in fact, Don McGahn does not hand over these documents that he has said he's under a deadline for?
Well, from Mitch McConnell, expect him to try to put punctuation at the end of this 2-year-long sentence, to try to say, case closed, it's over, time to move on. Certainly cover for the White House a signal to Republicans who are parts of these committees that are dealing with some of the issues. And if you thought Kim Kardashian was in law school, so are the rest of us, learning about the things like powers of the subpoena and what these separation of powers look like when you have divided government. That's what's happening here. And so what we expect today is, if Don McGahn does not comply, get the subpoena machine tweaked again, because look for that kind of action as these committees review all of their possible steps. For McConnell, again, this is about trying to really put case closed on this event. Hallie?
And we're going to listen in now to what Senator Mitch McConnell has to say.
Justice Department. It's been 2 weeks since Attorney General William Barr made the 450-page report public. This investigation went on for 2 years. It's finally over. Many Americans were waiting to see how their elected officials would respond. With an exhaustive investigation complete, would the country finally unify to confront the real challenges before us? Would we finally be able to move on from partisan paralysis and breathless conspiracy theorizing? Or would we remain consumed by unhinged partisanship and keep dividing ourselves to the point that Putin and his agents need only stand on the sidelines and watch us as their job is actually done for them? Regrettably, the answer is pretty obvious. So that's what I want to discuss this morning. Russia's interference in American elections, the work of the special counsel and the Attorney General, and how we can finally end this Groundhog Day spectacle, stop endlessly relitigating a 2.5-year-old election result, and move forward for the American people. Now, Madam President, it bears remembering what this investigation was actually supposed to be about: Russian interference in 2016. For many of the president's opponents, it quickly morphed into something else, a last hope that maybe they'd never have to come to terms with the American people's choice of a president. In some corners, Special Counsel Mueller came to be regarded as a kind of secular saint, destined to rescue the country from the inconvenient truth that the American people actually elected Donald Trump. For 2 years, many of the president's opponents seemed to be hoping the worst conspiracy theories were actually true. They seemed to be hoping for a national crisis for the sake of their own politics. Now, look, I will say
that has been Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell delivering what we have seen so far and expect to continue as a blistering speech aimed across the aisle on what he describes as the case-closed Mueller report. Democrats obviously taking a different view. All of it is coming to a head, Pete Williams, as former White House counsel Don McGahn now faces this deadline that we've just hit this, to hand over 36 types of documents to House Democrats. Documents related to the FBI investigation of Mike Flynn, to contacts between the president and James Comey, to public denials or requests to correct the record on President Trump asking for Mueller to be removed, on communications about Mueller's investigation, and on presidential pardons. Pete, what is your expectation for this today and for the possibility that Attorney General Bill Barr might be held in contempt as soon as tomorrow for not complying with Democrats' request to see the full and unredacted Mueller report?
So there are very different issues at stake here. McGahn is no longer in the government, but everything the House wants to ask him about is about his contacts with the president mostly, if not all, about his contacts with the president. And that's frankly where a claim of executive privilege is at its height. So that may well be a problem for the House to overcome if the White House does assert executive privilege. That's not the issue on Barr. On Barr, the issue is that the House wants the entire unredacted Mueller report. Stop right there. There's an issue about whether Congress is legally entitled to see grand jury material. And secondly, they want all the underlying investigative documents. And here I think there's something on both sides. On the one hand, for 100 years, the Justice Department has said, you know, we don't share investigative materials with Congress because that's our job, not Congress's. That's been a position the Justice Department has taken all along. Courts have repeatedly upheld that and said you don't want to politicize the criminal investigation process. On the other hand, the Justice Department is showing some willing to kind of have a halfway meeting point, and that's the way these requests for documents seem to get resolved. And one other thing I would say is, you know, the Justice Department did a little bit undercut its, you know, we never give you this stuff position, because James Comey, after the Hillary investigation, did dump a whole bunch of material on Congress, including the raw 302 notes of FBI interviews. And by the way, speaking of Groundhog Day, Senator McConnell might remember that House Republicans spent a lot of time with the Attorney General asking still about the Hillary Clinton email investigation.
Right. Let me ask you about another meeting today. The Department of Justice officials will be meeting with staff from Jerry Nadler's team to talk through what they're asking for. What is the expectation coming out of that, Pete? Do we know anything more about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's the way these things tend to get resolved. And even if Congress does go to court, find the Attorney General in contempt and sue, you know, courts tend to sort of referee some sort of accommodation here. So both sides are showing some promising efforts to accommodate the other. So maybe this could be headed off.
Pete, thank you very much. Thank you for checking out our YouTube channel. Why don't you subscribe? It's really easy. Just click on that button down there. And for more news from MSNBC, click on any of these videos here for the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more videos from MSNBC with our newsletters. Head over to msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up.